GDI. What does that stand for? Well, I'm going to tell you straight off. G stands for God, D stands for them, and I stands for it. Well, what is it that God damns? Well, go to the site, you'll find out, and you'll know how you can be a part of the movement. Got a special guest in today that's going to talk about the movement, Michael Williams.
Michael Williams is just a common guy, nothing special, nothing exceptional, but a guy that's always been engaged in wanting to see and do his part and help grow and develop us as a people. Obviously, I was exposed to and recognized early on that I can be a contributor, a positive contributor to society, and so I tried to find my place. Just like everybody else, we knock on a few doors here and then eventually something will open up.
Yeah.
And so something has opened up. It's all about. So what is a movement, right? And how does it begin and end? Who are the players? What are their roles? Who is the movement for? When is the movement? Right? These are questions that begin to flood your mind when you start to hear and talk about a movement. So I don't want to read all of the book and give you all of the insights.
But that's a good overview. You know, I have a proverb, don't jump in the middle. Start from the beginning. Stay to the end. And I think your title speaks to starting from the beginning. In the beginning, we all came into the world that God created. And we're all going to leave this world. So what do we do when you talk about the dash, from the time we're born to the time we die, to fight for the innocence that really should be reflected every day? There's a lot of contamination that has us in this profiling, labeling, stereotyping. I think it's noteworthy to have the cause to say to Arkansans across and then across America that there is an innocence that is available, and we need to peel back and tear down. So the movement, you know, when we were growing up, sometimes somebody would go to the mother and say, "Mom, I haven't had a movement in a while." And movement. And that was referring to constipation.
Correct.
And so one of the ways I like to look at movement in that context is sometimes things have just been clogged and stopped up. And I think your book is a laxative. I think it's something that it can help people get cleansed. And you talk about that. So you're talking about a movement in 2023. And I want to say this to those who are listening today and who are listening to podcasts and on the YouTube channel. Sir Michael, we need a movement. We need a movement in a great and almost a desperate way. How does Black Innocence, a sample conversation, and you talk about the movement that you are engaging. Let's get people lined up and connected.
Yeah, so here's where we are. We've allowed the infancy stages of the movement. I say infancy, right? Because we've got opportunity. You know, we've allowed the infancy stages of that mentality to affect us to the point of where we are today of not knowing who we are.
When you said infancy, what period are you?
I'm talking about from the beginning of the mentality of slavery,
okay,
right, and to condition the mindset. We, believe it or not, we're beyond that theory, but we just don't know it. Let me clarify. If we're at odds, mankind in general, not so much as black people versus white people, but mankind are at odds. And of course, it's, you know, wars have been wars, and the Bible speaks of continue to be war. But I'm talking about a societal significance here in America, right? We're beyond. We can change things by doing exactly what we're doing, by having these conversations. You know, the movement starts with understanding what's happening. And once you understand what's happening, the movement is the self-awareness aspect of where we are. And so once we understand, once we are aware of the climate that we're in, the differences that we have, the things that we can do that can improve the quality of life and the communication and lead the people that God would have us to be at the end of the day, it all starts with knowing from the beginning. And then, and once you realize that, you get to a point where, okay, let's kind of start to use the laxative per your example there, right? It doesn't happen immediately. Once you take in what's necessary to release the pressure, then you get to start to get move forward, understanding the awareness of where you are. Then you get through your experiences as to why things are clogged up. And once you understand, okay, so how have I contributed? What can I do at this point to help free the flow of the mentality that has had us, and it does have us, bogged down?
We got to really look close into how this movement is going to actually change and transform the culture. What do you prescribe to in your advocacy that we can share with the audience as they listen? And then we're going to chime in with the GDI. I think the movements are integrated, and we need to see ourselves as a one united force. Well, we want to add our voice to what you're doing. We are working on multiple strategies to get the My Movement Forum and the various movements in a positive flow. So we're going to look forward to having Michael Williams Sr. back to talk more about Black Innocence, a sample conversation. I'm going to invite you to go to GDI.today. That's God damn it, .today. Yep, it's not. I'm not cussing. No, and I'm trying to make sure nobody else is cussing. But there are things that God hates, and I can tell you as I read your book, and we see how we have become constipated and over convoluted. We're going to break through. I'll yield again with this scripture that you gave a reference to, hope. And the scripture in Romans 8:24 says we are saved by hope. But hope that is seen is not hope. For what a man seeth, why does he get hopeful? But if we hope for that which we see not, then do we with patience wait for it. And patience has a virtue that is on a timer. You can't just be patient forever. Let patience have a perfect work, and know the difference between exercising patience and tolerating foolishness. It's a fine line. Mr. Williams, it's been great having you. We'll be listening more about what you're doing. Those who are listening for the podcast and the rebroadcast on YouTube, put your commentary, subscribe, and you can donate to our cause whenever you can. Thanks a lot, JC.